Ladies and gentlemen, my name is TotalBiscuit. I'm here to ask and answer one simple question. WTF is Sins of a Dark Age. Sins? That sounds familiar, doesn't it? It should. Ironclad is the developer of this particular title, and this is my first impressions video for their entry into the Dota clone slash MOBA genre. It might be a bit disappointing for a lot of people. I think when people first heard of Sins of a Dark Age, they were hoping that we'd get a medieval or dark fantasy RTS of some description, bearing in mind that Sins of a Solar Empire was, of course, a bit of a mashup between the 4X and RTS genres. It was in space. It was pretty good, for the most part. Had a lot going for it. So, why would one attempt to enter such a difficult-to-compete within genre? We have two of the most popular games on the planet dominating it, League of Legends and Dota 2, and then we have several competitive entrants like Smite that also have player bases in the millions. So why would you do it? Well, of course there's the opportunity to make a great deal of money if you actually put something good together, and when it comes to the business model, this actually has quite a bit going for it. I'm going to talk a little bit about that, and we're of course going to jump into the gameplay. I'm going to do a replay from last night that I played with Strippin, Krendor, and a few others, and I'm going to be able to skip around that a little bit to show you some of the action, because frankly, watching a 50-minute game is fun for some people, but it's not ideal for this format, so I'm going to do some cuts and show you what's going on with that. But first, let's have a look at the options menu and see what's going on with that. You'll be able to skip right to the gameplay if for some reason you don't want to do that. Firstly, you might notice there's a Twitch button here. Well, there's a reason for that. The Twitch button allows you to link your Sins of a Dark Age account to your Twitch account. Now, that means that if you're streaming, you can get Twitch chat in-game. I'm not entirely sure if that's a feature or some kind of infernal punishment. But whatever the case, it tracks your viewership, it displays your viewers on the screen, and it also allows you to give out gifts to people that have also linked their Twitch accounts to their Sins of a Dark Age accounts. So every hour you can give out a random gift, which actually increases in value depending on how many viewers you have. So you can give out these chests, which can be open for skins and crafting materials, and that all ties into the business model that I'll explain in a moment. This is the options menu right here. So you've got exclusive full screen, virtual full screen. It recommends virtual full screen, but I had a significant frame rate drop when I did that, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend that at all. It defaults to that, so you might want to change it. It does go pretty much up to whatever resolution you want, as you can see. 800 by 600 being the minimum, so you've got all the choices you could possibly imagine there, which is good. Quick settings as well as AA. I'm not sure what kind of AA it runs, doesn't say. And then a bunch of different options which you can customize. Now, I have noticed some frame rate drops in this game. I was admittedly streaming when it happened, and I was streaming at 60 frames per second, which is a bit of a processor hog, so just bear that in mind. The developer actually popped up in the channel last night while we were streaming and recommended that you turn particle emitter quality down, and that should give you a higher frame rate. It just seemed to be in big team fights that were getting drops below 60, which of course messes with your skill shots. Outside of that, the game runs pretty solid. I mean, I get usually a solid about 120 to 144 on Ultra with a single GTX 980, so it's pretty scalable. You just might have to mess around a little bit here. There's also another option here, which is all voice chat. You might want to turn this off if you're having some issues with frame rate. This is, again, something else that was recommended to us, so there's something to bear in mind. But you've got a bunch of other nice stuff here as well. You can mute people not on your friends list. I love that feature. That's really cool. I've never seen that before. You can put timestamps on the chat. You can have push to talk on and off as well, and you can change the hotkey for that. So this is all good. And if we look at the HUD, you've actually got a great deal of customization. I love this in particular, the ability to customize the scale of various HUD elements. Always nice. Not a lot of games really have that, so it's good to see. Outside of that, you can change things like your status bars, floating text behaviors, all sorts of things like that. This is pretty convincing, frankly. I think the only thing that seems to be lacking from this list is a color deficient option. Would be nice to see that, considering some parts of the UI and the minimap are, of course, various colors. Those that are red-green colorblind might run into a few problems because you'll see both red and green dots on the map from time to time. So it's worth bearing that in mind. Might be nice to see that in a patch. They did say they were going to add some more options and performance things, so that might be good. You can turn off auto attack if you so desire, and you can also turn off ability queuing or on if you wish. This will change your edge scrolling speed. There's a lot here, let's just put it that way. And then full key rebinding for pretty much everything, including a massive set of advanced casting options. So let's say, for instance, if I go to Atasha, who's the one that I play, I can customize on an ability-by-ability basis as to what I want to do. Normal cast, quick cast, or smart cast. This is really good. I haven't seen a game that does this to this level of detail yet. It's possible that some have and I just haven't noticed, but most of the time you have to select between smart cast and normal cast for everything. Here you can do it on an ability-by-ability basis. I love that. That's great. And more games should do that if they're not doing it already. It's a good feature one way or the other. So yeah, lots of options. Great options. I mean, the options menu is phenomenal. These guys are PC game developers. It is to be expected, I think, that they know exactly what they're doing. Okay. Let's move on to the business model. This is what a lot of people might be asking. Look, I play Dota or I play LoL. Why on earth should I give this game a shot? Well, it is free, and I mean free. All of the heroes are free. So it's not like League of Legends or Smite or anything like that. All of the heroes are free. So that's a huge, huge deal. The shop actually only contains cosmetics. That is the only thing. So you can get keys for chests, which actually have crafting materials, which can be used to make gear. Alternatively, you can also buy a hero kit slot here, and you can also get cosmetics from that as well. So you can't buy power in any real way, although it is worth noting that chests can sometimes contain crafting materials, so they will allow you to build stuff a little bit faster. There are certain pieces of gear that are not... They don't power you up per se. They're kind of a advantage, disadvantage, pro, con sort of setup. For instance, if I go to my inventory right here, there's actually a nice little feature which lets me view a wiki for a particular thing. Everything's got a wiki preset up here. And if I craft this particular recipe, you'll notice this is what it does. This works only on one particular character, Lathoran. And it will change the way that an ability works. It doesn't make it more powerful, it just changes it. So it does reduced magic damage, but it triggers the ability twice in quick succession. It's a nice little idea, isn't it? And then you also have the ability to craft skins, and all of these require crafting materials. These drop in pretty much every game. So you'll also earn them for earning virtue points, which is the game's equivalent of karma. If you behave and you get voted up a lot, then you will gain more chests and more items. So it's a pretty nice setup. You can also customize your heroes with gear. This is very similar to the way that League of Legends works, but they do it with gear this time, which is a bit more thematic than the runes and things like that. So I've got my Apprentice Buckler here. I can equip either the Apprentice Hat or the Apprentice Spear, and you can craft different pieces of gear and get drops as you go through the game. So Atasha is very much a mage, so I like to use the Apprentice Hat for obvious reasons. You can also customize your recommended starting items here. So overall, I think that the business model for this game is very, very, very fair. It's extremely fair. You even get gear from doing the tutorials. So all the gear I'm currently using right now is actually from the 2 tutorials that the game has on offer. So that's pretty neat. And there's all sorts of ways of getting different crafting materials. And as I said, all the heroes are free. So that could be, I think, a little bit of an attractive selling point for a lot of people. Because, you know, they don't necessarily want to go and unlock and buy new heroes and get new accounts every single time. That's kind of ridiculous, and I can understand why people wouldn't want to do it. So this is pretty attractive. As to whether or not they're going to be able to make any money from it, that's a different matter entirely. But as it stands, the business model is very, very fair indeed. Super fair in almost every respect. The only thing I can't really comment on is high-level crafting, and whether or not there might just be a piece of gear which, even though it looks like it's balanced, might end up being imber, so maybe there are some complaints about that, but I haven't played enough of the game to really make remarks on that. You also have in-game Twitch watching as well, which is quite nice, and you can also download replays, top-rated replays, and all of your own replays are automatically saved. And in fact, we're going to see the replay system in action, because that's what I'm going to use to record the rest of this video. It's really quite a capable replay system, actually. It's got a lot going for it. It's not as advanced as, say, the Dota replay system, which is designed for esports, but it's not too shabby either. And compared to games like, say, League of Legends, which, for some inexplicable reason, don't have official replay systems, it's nice to see that Sins of a Dark Age, after coming out of early access, has a good feature set. And it does. It really does. It's got a couple of different queues as well. If you would prefer to play 2 versus 2, which is kind of like a mid-lane, shorter battle, you can do that. Or there's Siege, which is 5v5. I recommend Siege because it actually has the most interesting feature that differentiates this game from other games, and I'll explain that once we actually get into the game itself. You also have a try hero mode, and you can set up custom games. So if I create a game, I can pick between 1v1, 2v2, and 5v5. I can set open and blind lobbies. I can pick my region. This is cross-region, by the way, so if you play LoL, you're probably aware that your account is bound to a region. It's not here. The game also has some capable bots as well. They're looking to put in some more stuff. This isn't quite done yet, but you can play a bot mode, and the bots are actually pretty good. So if you want to practice or do a comp stomp, you can set that up as well with your friends. Alright, we're going to jump into a replay, and I'm going to explain the game mechanics, and we'll look at the similarities and the differences between this and other titles within the genre, and try and determine whether or not it's actually worthy of your time in a very competitive marketplace. Alright, here we are in a game of Sins of a Dark Age. We're running a replay from something we did last night. You see Crendo and Strippin are there, along with Gmart and Ben Pie, whoever that might be, one of Strippin's mates. So, let's have a look at the game. This is the shop. Obviously, where you want to start, really. Nothing too special about it. It works in pretty much the same way as any other shop, although it does have a nice little set of voice lines when you buy stuff, which is kind of neat. So, the shopkeeper actually talks to you as you purchase things, which is not too shabby. Everything's broken down by category. You also have an item search, and if I were to, say, select Special Power and then go to Apprentice Wand, it'll show all of the things I can upgrade into. And you can set a bunch of recommended items. As it stands, I'm buying the Renewing Amulet and 3 potions. You have 8 inventory slots in total. 2 are for potions, 6 are for regular things. There's no courier in this game, but you do have the ability to teleport back to base at any time by holding, well, by pressing the B button. So I'm going to go take the center lane here, as you might notice. And we'll follow my guy around and see exactly what happens. Replay mode actually has cinematic mode, which is kind of nice. No, that doesn't knock it down to 24 frames per second, thankfully. But it does take away the UI element if you want to do a little video or whatever. So we're going to follow our fellow around and see what ends up happening. So, in a very similar style to most Dota games, or MOBAs, whatever you want to call them, you've got 3 basic abilities plus an ultimate. These can be leveled up multiple times, as you can see. That's my Chain Lightning ability there. But what you also get is a kind of summoner ability. So in League of Legends, you get summoner abilities that you pick before the game. In Sins of a Dark Age, you don't pick them before the game starts. You pick them during the game. And they upgrade throughout the game. So you can get 3 levels of each. So for instance, you start off with, say, Portal. And if I click Portal, what Portal is going to do is it's going to let me teleport to any structure. You can also get Portal Scrolls, so you can get Town Portal stuff. So you're not limited in that way, like, say, you would be in League, but you can get this as an ability if you so desire. But the thing is, if I level that up, I can lower the cooldown, I can make it faster, and at higher levels, I can even create spells with it. I can actually teleport in and shield a building, or I can give out a minion aura, which is kind of neat. And you can do the same with every spell in every one of the summoner spells in the game. They all have different customization options, which is kind of neat. Outside of that, you're playing a fairly standard lane-based game of League of Legends here, with fairly short cooldown abilities, fairly low mana cost abilities, so it's not really like Dota in that respect, it's more like LoL. And each character has a passive as well. In this case, every 5th basic attack, I generate a charge token, and every time I use a spell that has a charge token with it, it actually gains some additional properties. So, a charged Thunderclap will stun for longer, a charged Static Field, as you can see here, will pull enemies towards the center of it, and Chain Lightning will make sure that everything does full damage. You also have Tempest here as well. I don't believe that's actually affected by charge, however. So there's not really a lot to say about this laning phase, really. I mean, if you've seen one game that does this, you've kind of seen them all. You can distinguish between various games by the pacing and things like deny, so I'll go through the basics. You can't deny things, but you can last hit. There is a gold sharing system within the game. It's not as intense and crazy as something like Heroes of the Storm, where everyone's XP level is shared. What happens is, if you last hit, you get the full amount, and then there's a pool of gold, which is shared amongst other people in the lane. So it's actually very similar to the way Dawngate, rest in peace, used to do it. It's a good system. It rewards last hitting, but simultaneously, it doesn't punish support characters for playing support roles, which is good. So I do like that system quite a lot, and those of you who like to play support characters will probably enjoy the fact that that system exists. As it stands, I'm obviously in the middle here, just trying to last hit as best I can to get maximum gold benefit. Outside of that, as I said, there's no denying the initial movement speed of characters is fairly slow, but there are various boots available. If I go to the shop right here and head over to movement speed, you'll see there are a number of boots as well as items that will increase movement speed. So you do have that level of customization there. Now, what is this up the top? Well, this is the biggest difference in terms of gameplay mechanics versus any other Dota-style game, and that's the questing system. So this is an objective-based system whereby quests will occur throughout the game. When you're given a quest, it is a global objective, which both teams compete to achieve. Now, we're going to skip forward a little bit in the replay by about a minute or so, and we'll get to see that quest in action. So we're just going to increase it here, just going to skip forward. There, it's seeking forward, forward, forward. There we go. And here we go. The current quest is Necromancer's Bargain. You'll notice on the map there are various little orbs. Now, you head over there and you'll find that there are coffins. You capture and hold these coffins and you will start to unleash souls. When you unleash the maximum amount of souls, you will actually be rewarded not only with cash, but also with an item. And this item is unique. It actually takes part of your UI down here, and you trigger it with the hotkey Z. And when you hit the Z button, you will be able to activate said item. And this item lasts until the next quest comes along. So that's usually about 10 minutes in game time. And it'll give you numerous benefits. For instance, this one gives you the Necromancer's Urn passive ability. When you slay minions, they raise from the ground to serve you as undead allies, which is kind of neat. So there's all sorts of different items and special abilities you can get there. But it doesn't really end there. The game also has something called the Adventurer's Bounty. Every time you complete a quest, you gain a tier of Adventurer's Bounty. And every time you do that, you gain a permanent team-wide buff. And the more of these quests you complete, the more powerful it is. It gets to the point where if you complete 4 quests and your opponents don't complete any, you have a very large advantage over them. So it's objective-heavy gameplay, and also capturing these objectives gives you gold to make sure that you don't miss out from laning, which is pretty cool. So it's well thought out. But unlike, say, Heroes of the Storm, which is very objective-focused, these quests are optional. You don't have to do them. So it's quite nice for those who like the more standard laning of League of Legends and Dota, but also would like a little bit of spice every now and again. And it holds this nice middle ground between something like Heroes of the Storm and League of Legends. And let's face facts. The reality of this genre is that it's highly iterative. That means that they're going to be taking ideas from all over the place. Like, the objective system, I think, is taken from Heroes of the Storm. The gold sharing system is from Dawngate. And there are a number of other things which are involved in the game, which you could say, hey, yeah, this is taken from LoL. This is an idea from Dota. It's got a full jungling system, so you can be a jungler in this game. You could even take abilities and items which will help you out with jungling. There are monsters which give you buffs. There are also monsters which are attacked and killed for quests. There's a Hydra on the map over here. There's a Troll, I think, over here. And all sorts of different things. So if you want to be an active jungler, you can be. As far as I can tell, you don't need to be a jungler. The meta doesn't seem to say, at least right now, that you need to be a jungler. But of course, we just don't know yet. The game really hasn't been out for all that long. So it only came out a couple of days ago here. So what do I reckon? Well, everything about it feels pretty good. The short cooldown abilities, the focus on skill shots, all of these are nice if you like the League of Legends style of doing things. And I actually do. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Dota. I think Dota's probably my favorite style of game like this. But I do like the fact that League of Legends is focused on skill shots, and it's also focused on shorter cooldown abilities. It makes casters a little bit more dynamic in the early game. So I enjoy that because I enjoy playing nukers and casters. So I get to cast a lot of spells, and that's enjoyable for me. Not everyone is going to like that, but I personally do. So you can see I was able to land a Thunderbolt there, which is a delayed skill shot. I fire off my Chain Lightning. I use my very Razor-esque ability, Tempest. I get in nice and close, zap him to death, and then we get the successful gank as we push on this lane here. This character is a bit of a mix of Razor and Zeus from Dota, so you should be able to recognize it. And there's a lot of characters which have abilities which you'll recognize. For instance, one of my other characters, Atasha. She has a passive which lets her raise from the dead in this kind of phoenix egg, which again is very similar to the way that what is it? Anivia, not Akali. Anivia works in League of Legends. You're never going to get a game which has full originality when it comes to abilities. They're all going to borrow from each other, and that's just the way that it works in this particular genre. So the question you've got to ask yourself is, am I on the lookout for a Dota-style game right now? Am I looking to switch from another one because maybe I've got bored of it? And what aspects of this game might intrigue me? Well, I do still think the strongest element of this game is the business model. It's very fair, and I like the crafting ideas. That gives a nice little enjoyable metagame when it comes to collecting resources and crafting unique pieces of gear, and it also gives you a degree of customization for the hero outside of the game itself. And I do like this idea of alternate abilities, where you take a disadvantage, but you also gain something different. That's particularly neat, and you don't see a great deal of that in other games. The other big thing is, of course, the questing system. I like this a lot. It gives you these dynamic side objectives, which are highly competitive. So I really dig that, and as you can see, I'm raising an army of skeletons. I mean, all the items you get are really fun. They all do a bunch of different stuff, and the quests are nicely varied. I'd like to see a few more of them, because I've definitely seen quests repeat themselves, so hopefully they do add more content in there in future. But as it stands, I think the questing system is a standout feature of this game, and it works very, very well. Outside of that, the characters control in the way that I would expect them to. They're responsive. You do have a slight amount of turn time in each character. It's not instantaneous, but it's not as ridiculous as, say, Dota, which is very focused on these slower turn times. And I do like the inclusion of passives for each character. I think it gives a little bit of uniqueness to each character and gives them a sense of personality, which is built right into their abilities. And this character in particular, I think, is actually kind of a lot of fun. The theme's not bad either. It's a dark fantasy theme. There's actually quite a lot of lore built into this game, so if you're a bit of a lore hound, you can actually collect lore pages which drop at the end of some games, and you can put them together into books to read, which I kind of like. I think that's a neat little feature, I have to say. I like the fact that it takes this lore quite seriously. Obviously, League of Legends has started doing that more lately, but when it started, it didn't give a damn. Dota has lore, but most people don't seem to know about it, and I don't blame them because it's a little bit obscure. But they seem to be building this kind of nice dark fantasy world. The aesthetic reminds me quite a lot of Dawngate. It's got the sort of flatter pastel shades. There's nothing particularly massively colorful about this game. As I said, it is more of a dark fantasy aesthetic, so that's gonna be appealing to some people and not so much for others. It's got some good character design as well. You know, there's a good amount of uniqueness there, I would say. And the voice acting is solid. So, the game is good, right? Yeah, it is. But the problem is going to be, for a lot of people, just how similar it is to other games in the genre. Yes, I've explained the differences, and there are some more subtle differences as well, like, say, the Twitch integration, for instance. The fact that you've got the advanced casting system that I was talking about earlier, that level of customization. There's the Vice and Virtue system, which is supposed to encourage positive play. That's kind of neat as well. You've even got some nice features like the ability to queue up for games and then go and play a different game while you're queuing for it. So if you want to play like an AI game, you can queue up for a PvP game while playing an AI game to pass the time. I like that. That's pretty awesome. That's a good feature that, frankly, should be in other games. Considering queue times can be a bit of a problem, it's nice that you can go and entertain yourself with that if you're, for instance, not messing around with the item customization outside of the game. So it's got a lot of little things, and a lot of the differentiation in games in this genre is in the subtleties, in these little differences in mechanics one way or the other. And this game does have some differences there, but outside of that, like, if in the grand scheme of things, it is still quite similar to games like League of Legends. So, do you want a game that's quite similar to LoL, with a few different spins on it, that has a bunch of free heroes? Do you like the aesthetic? If you do, there aren't actually that many flaws with this game. It works well. It really does. It's responsive. It has a great UI. It's got a lot of very user-friendly features. It's got voice over IP built in, which is fantastic. A lot of these games don't have that, which is ridiculous. And it also has the on-map communication via alerts, retreats, and also a context-sensitive menu that you can access by holding down left alt, which looks something like this. There you go. And you can ping on the map using that. So they've taken a lot of ideas from different places and put them together into a very comprehensive and very competent product. But again, the question for a lot of people is whether or not it's worth playing this game over other Dota-style games that perhaps they are already playing. Is it enough to pull people away? Good question. That's something you're going to have to decide for yourself. As far as I'm concerned, the game is good. It is fun. I'm going to be playing a bit more of it. It has an attractive business model. It has just enough innovation to make it interesting. And it has a decent selection of characters and character design. I'm intrigued by the crafting system, and I want to play around more to mess around with that, because I think that's really going to give me a little bit of fulfillment in the long-term meta aspect of the title. But outside of that, if you're looking to get into a Dota-style game with some interesting objective-focused changes that isn't perhaps as full-on objective-focused as Heroes of the Storm, then Sins of the Dark Age is not exactly the worst thing that you could pick. You know, it is a good, solid Dota-style game with a small but functional player base, with some nice little neat ideas and innovations from time to time. That's how I describe it. We had fun on stream with it last night, so frankly, it is free, and you can try all the heroes out, so why not give it a bash, you know? That's the advantage of the business model of a game like this. It is something that is very easy to try, and it's very easy to convince your friends to get into because they don't have to invest any money in it. Whether or not that's going to be actually work for them on a business standpoint. I hope that it does, because I think they're showing a lot of good faith with the whole Steam Workshop trading and marketplace and all sorts of things like that, and the chest system, and of course the focus on cosmetics and skins. They're showing a lot of good faith in the audience. I don't know whether or not it's going to work as a business model, but I certainly hope that it does, because it would be a shame if it didn't. Sins of a Dark Age, ladies and gentlemen. It is available for free on Steam right now, if you desire to pick it up. My name's been TotalBiscuit. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.